Call this meeting of the James City County Board of Supervisors to order for a business meeting. Mr. Stevens, if you'd call the roll, and we note that Mr. Hipple has noticed that he is tied up and he will be here as soon as he can, but we will go start anyway.
Ms. Noel?
Present.
Ms. Larson?
Here.
Mr. McGlennon?
Here.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Here.
Present.
Okay. We have a presentation today, a retirement ceremony, and I think Patrick Page is going to do an initial presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. This afternoon, I'm here to recognize Myat Hlaing, Systems Architect and Information Resources Management. Myat started with the county in May of 2002, serving 23 years with the county. He started his career with the county as a PC technician, preparing new systems, repairing systems, and assisting staff as needed. In 2004, Myat was promoted to a network engineer where he primarily supported public safety for fire, police, and dispatch. In 2007, Myat was promoted to systems integrator, taking operational responsibility for the servers and communication systems across the county. In 2016, Myat's position was reclassed as a systems architect, where he became the primary designer, implementer of servers and communications across the county. Throughout Myat's tenure, his focus has always been keeping county systems operational for staff to serve citizens and assisting staff to use the appropriate technology for their job. When COVID hit 5 years ago, Myat was the only staff member that continued to work in his office from the department, assuring systems were available for staff to connect and work from home in the field. His quick actions and innovation in the first 2 weeks of COVID allowed for more than 250 office staff to continue work from home. Myat's accomplishments include implementing the county's second-generation fiber optic network, establishing data centers for JCSA operations and law enforcement center, modernizing server communications systems, mentoring staff to manage the systems he designed and keep them operational. Two things you can always count on Myat for is his willingness to help anyone and his insistence on finding a solution or an answer to a problem. We will miss Myat's smile and his singing from the computer room in the mornings, as he is always the first person in the office making sure systems are ready for staff and citizens.
And I'm going to read the commendation here, and then we'll come down and present the commendation. But commendation honoring the service of Myat Hlaing. Whereas Myat Hlaing has served the residents of James City County with distinction for the past 23 years as a valued employee in the information resources management, and whereas throughout his tenure, Myat has exemplified the highest standards of professionalism, integrity, and commitment to excellence in public service, and whereas Myat's institutional knowledge, problem-solving abilities, and tireless work ethic have contributed immensely to the effective operation and success of the information resources management. And whereas Myat has mentored and trained countless colleagues, serving as an inspiration and role model for others in public service, and whereas Myat's positive attitude, caring nature, and wonderful sense of humor have brightened the workplace and uplifted those around him, and whereas Myat's retirement on July 1st, 2025 will be a profound loss for James City County as we bid farewell to one of our most dedicated and esteemed public servants. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Chair of the Board of Supervisors, on behalf of the residents of James City County, do hereby extend our deepest gratitude to Myat Hlaing for his decades of exceptional service and commitment to our community. We wish him an enjoyable, fulfilling, and well-deserved retirement. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the County of James City, Virginia to be affixed this 27th day of May, 2025. And we'll come on down and presentation. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the consent calendar. Today's consent calendar consists of the following items, with the exception of item 7, which needs to be pulled and voted on at the June 10th, 2025 regular meeting. And I'll read them off. Contract award, annual HVAC equipment installation service controls and products. Contract award for $113,459, equipment and installation for 9 marked police vehicles. Contract award, $181,424, Parks and Recreation Department Master Plan. 4 is dedication of streets in Parcel C of Track 3 of the Stonehouse subdivision. Number 5 is dedication of the streets in Section 3 of the Westmoreland subdivision. Number 6 is environmental health and safety software contract, safety stratus. We skipped to number 8, grant award, $19,004, Forest Sustainability Fund. Number 9, grant award, $66,185, Homeless Reduction Grant Program. Grant award, $289,512, Homeless Reduction Grant Program. Number 11, grant award, $19,000, Virginia DEQ CBPA Support Grant for 2025. Number 12, minutes adoption. Number 13, resolution to amend Chapter 2 of the Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual. And 14, supplemental grant award, $79,451. And I'll look to the board if anybody wishes to pull an item for discussion.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Okay.
I'd like to just have a few minutes of discussion of the item on change of personnel policy.
Discuss it now, or would
Do
you
you
like
discuss
to
it
move it
now,
to
or
later?
then just vote on it as consent, or you want to, we'll go ahead and just vote on everything else and then discuss that?
I think we can vote on everything else, that's fine.
Okay, so we'll pull number
13.
13 for discussion. So your motion is to approve the rest of the agenda then, okay? Mr. Stevens, call the roll, please.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Okay.
You-
Yeah, I was just curious, the memo that came along with this didn't provide much background detail on the reason for the change. I just wondered if you could explain a little bit more about that.
Mr. Kinsman and I will sort of tag team. He can fill in where I miss. We did have a request from a board member of was there a problem and could we allow family members to work for the county? And certainly at some level, I don't have concern with that. So it was initiated by a board member. For me, other localities are hit and miss in what they allow. For your children or potentially grandchildren to work part-time in our Parks and Rec department or summer programs, absolutely doesn't seem to be a conflict for me. As you move through the organization at our entry to mid-level ranges, that doesn't worry me a whole lot. Above that would be an area where I would have to really talk with that board member whose family member might apply. And so I think you put a county administrator in a position where they could allow those things where they make sense, and then not allow them where they don't. So that was at least our rationale for getting to this point. And Mr. Kinsman, anything that I've missed? I think that's the short version of how we ended up with that request in front of you.
Oh, I had reached out to you last week when I saw this on and just asked if you, well, I first checked to see how, your thoughts on this. And then if you were able to develop some policies and procedures about it.
And we have not at this point, but we would. As it goes forward, we would have some guidelines that would at least be those governing things for county administrators consider going forward. So where they have that situation arise, and it may or may not,
Right.
but where it arises, they would have some guidelines on what to do with that.
This also include, like outside vendors work for the county that get contracts with the county or no?
Yeah, I don't know that we have any prohibition against an outside vendor's relative working for us. You aware of anything? No, we don't have a regulation of that. It was just board members or myself. My family cannot work for the county. That is still there. But your family members, as I work for you, you don't have any direct supervision of our employees. That falls really to Adam and I. So that sort of takes away at least what would be a real conflict, and still leaves us in charge and supervising potentially your family member.
So should we move
Yep,
number
need a motion.
13?
Motion to, for number 13.
Okay.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. That takes us through the consent calendar. And we now move to board discussion. Staffing discussion, Mr. Stevens, you will begin the discussion on this one for us.
Well, yes, sir. Let me pull my notes up so I can share what I meant to share as we go through this. As we've discussed previously, the county struggled with staffing positions in many of our departments for at least the last 5 years. 4 years ago, we began increasing the hourly rate of our bottom third of our pay ranges, and our entry-level hourly rate in December of 2000 was $9.64 per hour. 4 years later, or today, it is $16.40 an hour. So we have made significant improvements at the bottom end of our pay scale, and we did 2 years of focusing on the bottom third of our pay ranges. In the fall of 2022, we made a significant investment in our public safety salaries. Both police and fire benefited from that adjustment. And in the fall of 2024, we implemented a compensation study and moved all of our pay ranges to the 65th percentile. So those bottom third to public safety to our general employees all benefited from the compensation study implementation. When residents have asked what we used their increased tax revenue from last year's reassessment, I've shared with them that the majority went to ensure our salaries are competitive in the region and to support the school division's funding request last year. And those were the two predominant items that we funded with that reassessment increase last year. These two items account for $196 million, or 74% of our $264 million 2026 budget. With operating and debt service for the schools at $114 million and the county's personnel cost at $82 million. So they are a significant part of our general fund budget. So I've been asked, with this investment, is it working? The short answer is yes. I believe it is. Our staffing levels are improving in almost every area. We still have some hard to fill positions such as engineers. They are just at a different pay scale than what we're offering, but in most cases we are doing very well with staffing, at least today. It's hard to pinpoint, I think, all the reasons people might choose to work in local government, but I do believe two important parts are work environment and competitive pay. They're both important aspects to jobs that we hold. I believe we have a great work environment. We can always work to make it better, but our staff is here, they're committed, we have department heads that care for their staff, and I think James City County is a great place to work. But prior to these pay increases, we had many positions that paid 10 to 20% below the same job in neighboring localities. We had employees seeking employment elsewhere because they could make an extra $10,000 doing the same work. And when we shared the new pay ranges and salaries with staff last summer who were seeking other jobs, many of them abandoned their search and chose to stay with James City County. So I do believe it's having the desired effect. We track our fiscal year staff turnover rates. From 2014 to 2019, we averaged around 12% a year. I think that's normal attrition of retirements or people that have to move for family reasons or just a change of career. Then we began to increase in 2020, and we peaked at 2022 with a 20% turnover rate. So we almost doubled our average rate. In 2023, we dropped that to 17%. In 2024, it dropped to 14%. And so far in FY25, it's trending at 12%. So we're sort of back to that historical average we were seeing pre-pandemic. So I believe we're headed in the right direction. I wanted to give you some specific departmental information, not a whole lot of numbers, but just sort of by department, or at least most of them, areas that we've seen that improved. Fire department. Several years ago, you approved 9 additional positions. We couldn't fill those positions for a number of years, and we struggled to fill our vacant firefighter and EMT positions. As of today, I'm thrilled to report the fire department doesn't have any vacancies. As a matter of fact, we have 3 overhires, so that when we have future vacancies, we already have people that are either in the academy or have completed the academy to move into those jobs. The department benefited from an increase in our advanced life support supplemental increase, which we did in the fall of 22, and then followed by the compensation adjustments last fall. The department has not had to use mandatory overtime in over 2 years, something that we want to avoid, and have reduced overtime hours by approximately 50% since being able to fill their vacancies. So I think for our fire department, the pay increases we have implemented have really made a difference. In our police department, as of June 1st, we will have 6 vacancies. So we are improving. We've been able to re-implement some of our specialty units that we had to pull people from to put on patrol. So again, we are making progress there as well. The chief shared that he believes the focus on public safety over the last several years has definitely helped in recruiting and retention for our police department. Many of his staff members shared their appreciation of the pay increases, and a few that could retire said they are really sticking around for a few more years because of these adjustments. So I think in those public safety arena, it's definitely had an impact. I wanted to let you hear from a few of our department directors. So I'd had our general services, community development, and parks and recreation directors ready to come up and just say a few words, I think. I know I've seen them before. There's Grace Boone. I'll call Grace Boone to come first forward. Sorry, Orlando, a little slow seeing you behind the pole. But if Grace will talk about sort of the impact she's seen in general services, so.
Afternoon,
Afternoon.
Eisenhower, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today regarding the current staffing levels in the Department of General Services. I'm happy to report the department is in a much better position this fiscal year than in previous fiscal years. I contribute much of that improvement to staffing levels and the recent adjustments in the compensation. Staffing levels have increased overall, but I wanted to touch on a few specific areas where the increase has shown a significant difference. Our grounds maintenance division historically was an area where we struggled to attract qualified applicants. I reported a few years back that the division had a turnover rate of 94% over 3 years, which affected the entire division. We were constantly training, outfitting new hires. They lacked experience and institutional knowledge, resulting in more turnover, and our ability to provide core services was declining and causing additional stress on those dedicated to taking on the additional responsibilities. We have made several internal adjustments, as Mr. Stevens stated, over the past couple of years, but we have really seen improvements with the implementation of the compensation study and bringing our positions more in line with other localities. Our landscape worker position has seen a 130% increase in the number of applicants. We had 60 applicants in FY24 compared to 138 in FY25. Our spray technician that remained vacant over 14 months only received 5 applications. In FY24, or in FY25, we had 56 applicants and we were able to hire someone. The turnover rate in grounds division in FY24 was 25.8%, compared to FY25, which is now at 3.2. That division has really seen much improvement, and I can say staff is definitely a lot happier and people are enjoying coming to work more. Our stormwater and resource protection division has also seen an increase in qualified applications since implementing the compensation study. In FY24, there were a total of 19 applicants for the civil engineer position, but no hires were made. On FY25, we had 57 applicants, and we were able to hire 2 additional staff members. We still have 1 vacancy. As Mr. Stevens stated, engineers and project managers are a hard hire. Our fleet and equipment division also benefited from the compensation study. The automotive technician position was posted in June 2024. Between June 2024 and October 2024, we only had 9 applicants, which did not result in a hire. After the study went into effect, we saw an increase in the applications between October 24 and February 25, where we received 17 additional qualified applicants. And we were able to hire someone that started May 1st. So, you know, supporting public safety with our automotive technicians is important. And you approved one for July, so we're getting ready to advertise that. So hopefully we feel like we'll be in much better shape. Our administrative coordinator position for the Department of General Services, the position opened in February 25, and we closed it 10 days later. We had a total of 144 applicants. That was, you know, just the ability to be able to have a broader applicant base and be able to go through and pick those qualified people has been an improvement. Our facilities maintenance division, we recently posted a facilities technician, received 21 applicants in 7 days, was able to turn that around, and getting someone in the door June 1st. So, and although we've seen major improvements, as I said, our engineers, we're still struggling that area, but we keep plugging away. But wanted to thank you all for your support. It's been great improvement.
Also, call our Parks and Rec Director, Arlana Flournoy, and let her provide an update for Parks and Rec.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisor members, County Administration, and the great residents of James City County. It brings me great pleasure to talk about the overall success in Parks and Recreation from the recent compensation study. And I always tell people the best way to kind of see it is the before and after. So if you look in the lens before the compensation study, in Parks and Recreation, as Mr. Stevens spoke of, we were experiencing consistent turnover, whether it was a part-time staff or whether it was a full-time staff. In record history, we probably had we had 12 full-time staff down at one time. We had extreme shortages in our part-time and on-call, which are our frontline workers that probably most of our residents see every day, whether you're seeing them in the recreation centers, whether you're seeing them in the parks or before and after school programs. There was higher stress levels on employees, basically because of not having adequate staffing levels. There were wait lists in the Rec Connect before and after school program and summer camps, which service, over 500 families for childcare. There was wait lists in our fitness programs and some of our other programs. And each day we would come to work at a daily risk, not knowing whether we might have to close a pool or whether we might have to close a facility or reduce hours on a facility because of not having adequate staffing. So now we flip the lens and now we're here in present day. Parks and Recreation has 64 full-time staff, 86 part-time, and then 86 on-call seasonal, which is over 200 staff. So what I'll say to you today, in full-time staffing levels, we're nearly 100%. We have one position that we're getting ready to fill, and that's because there was a promotion within the department. Our part-time and on-call seasonal staff are in very good shape. We are attracting a more qualified pool of applicants. We've had to hire several full-time staff over this period, and where we would see maybe 10 or so, folks in the pool, we're seeing 50, 60, 70 applicants. So it makes the hiring easier. And then staff are generally, happier and healthier because they're not having to take on extra workloads to try to maintain the service levels that we expect and certainly that our residents expect. But just some pay examples in Parks and Recreation, when you look at the entry-level recreation leader, which is our frontline staff, before the compensation, they're at 1036. After, they're at 1640. So that was a 58% increase in their pay. So our ability to recruit and retain those workers are very important. Lifeguards were 1036, now 1868. And what was happening in the lifeguard area is we kept losing them to other folks that had pools in the area. So that area, we were, more, very ecstatic about that we were able to maintain that. And then our park attendant went from 1276 to 1749. So we have 17 parks, recreation centers, 90 plus hours a week that we have to keep that area staffed and open to the public. And because of the compensation study and the results of it, we're able to do that in a very successful manner. So I know that our team expresses it every day, as Grace talked about, and others that, staff are really, really happy. So I definitely want to thank you all for your, intentional planning, ongoing collaboration, and support of staff. And because of that, we continue for staff. We have the best place for staff to work, best place for our residents to live and play. So thank you so much.
And finally, I'd ask Paul Holt, our Community Development Director, to come forward and just share some experience from his department's perspective.
For some really high-level ones, I wasn't sure I was needed to bring stats and figures, numbers. So I'm just going to round out the conversation. Unfortunately, community development has not been immune to some of the turnover and some of the vacancy challenges that some of the other departments were seeing. We held in there for a while, but then it caught up with us as well. Just a couple of highlights that I can think of, really that sort of illustrate the before and after. Really before the implementation of the pay plan on the Building Safety and Permits Division, we have 2 front counter permit tech positions, and over about a 2-year period, that position turned over more than 14 times. And, those are the folks that answer the phones. Those are the folks that take in the initial building permit. So the thousands and thousands of building permits that we take in each year, that's the first stop. It's hard to get continuity when those positions turned over 14 times, much less sort of an informed decision and someone who can really help guide those permits through the process and get them started off on the right foot. Fortunately, we are now at a point where all of those positions have been filled for a little bit, and that division right now is fully staffed, and that do think that the pay plan is going to make a big difference there and being able to retain those frontline folks for sure. We lost a lot of people. A lot of the transition was due to folks leaving for higher pay in other spots. On the planning side, again, we had sort of a lot of turnover. We still have a couple of vacancies. I'm proud to say we have, because of the implementation of the pay plan, it has made us a lot more competitive. And so we have been able to fill 2 of our principal planner positions. Had several folks within Building A who are looking at other opportunities before implementation of the pay plan, and I know for a fact that because of the pay plan and because we are now more competitive, those searches were called off and we were able to retain those experienced folks. Really, even for some of our more recent hires, because we are more competitive now, we're able to attract a much more tenured and experienced set of folks. Planning has always been really good about hiring folks right out of planning school, but with our current pay plan, again, because we are more competitive, when we go out with vacancies, we are able to attract now not only folks right out of school, but some very tenured and experienced folks. And having that level of experience brought in to help, I think, is really going to add to everything that we do. So thank you very much.
A couple of the departments I'd like to mention, just our information resource management, the director seeing a large number of applicants, similar theme, providing a better pool to select from. Still some challenges for RM at the mid and upper levels, but attracting and retaining our new hires has really been enhanced because of the pay study and some opportunities for them within the department. So those that started with us in the last 3 years, we still have those folks working and learning how James City County functions. Social services, again, similar increase in employee retention and attraction and recruitment of more qualified applicants. So it's having an impact there as well. And then at FMS, Ms. McCarthy had shared before, the number of qualified applicants has increased dramatically. And I know she had a position out previous to the pay study, new pay scales out there in fiscal year 24, and didn't receive any qualified applicants. When she posted the new ranges last July, we let people post early, expecting them to come in that fall. She received a number of qualified applicants. So at least in those instances, it's happening and helping. There could be some criticism, I guess, on timing. Maybe it just would have happened anyhow. Maybe with all the federal workforce that's needing to be elsewhere. I've only heard of one position that's had a significant impact for us, and that was very recently. I think all of the other positions we had, we've not had an influx of federal applicants. We do have one position with FMS where they've had a large quantity of applicants that really are able to come because they are looking for a little more stability in their employment. And then our county attorney's office, while in the midst of all this and not directly in the middle of the pay plan, they were having a difficult time hiring attorneys. So as we were having those discussions, Mr. Kinsman and I talked about that and letting him hire within the range, which was a recommendation of the Bolton study. And he found Andy Dean. And Andy was an experienced attorney that was able to make an immediate and meaningful impact in his office. So again, we've seen immediate results from being able to offer a better salary to hiring somebody whose learning curve was almost non-existent other than learning local government. He brought the attorney trial experience. And we've also been able to retain our deputy county attorney, Liz Parham, who's regularly sought after by other offices to do attorney work for them. So, has the investment in our staff over the past 4 years made a difference? I think yes, absolutely. I think there are a lot of factors into retaining and getting qualified applicants, and certainly the market ups and downs helps or hurts depending on which way you go. But I think when we trigger, when did it really start making a difference? It's when we got to the end of the compensation study and put those pay ranges out there and showed that what we had talked about for a number of years with the other increases you had done previously really made a difference. And it has attracted a better pool of applicants for our departments. And again, I think provides us that ability to continue meeting the expectations and needs of our citizens. So happy to provide more as we go along. And as we get another year into it, we'll have more information to share with you and where we've had successes or maybe where we still have some work to do. But by and large, I think we as department, myself and our department heads, feel very comfortable and confident that the pay study has had the impact that we were hopeful it would have. So any questions or other information you would like to have related to the pay study?
That demonstrates pretty well that we've gone through a pretty tough time in terms of our own compensation and putting extra work on county employees. And it's nice now to be able to recognize that in order to keep the quality workforce that we have to make the investment in it.
I appreciate that. Concerns I heard from department heads with burnout and folks leaving and just not worrying about the job all the time, that has subsided considerably in the last 6 to 12 months. So I do appreciate your support of that and willingness to take that on as well. And as we have more, we'll share that as we go forward.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty, our next board discussion item is the Williamsburg Regional Library System. Sandy Towers, Director of Williamsburg Library System.
As Ms. Towers is coming forward, I did invite her here to answer some directly. You've probably seen some of this information. I've shared a little bit of it, but I thought you would appreciate hearing from her directly on library system and need for additional space and the usage. We heard some that people just aren't using the library anymore, and I think what she'll share with you is going to be very contrary to that. Our community does use the library extensively, so Ms. Towers, all yours.
Thank you very much. So good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Mr. Stevens. I'm here today to do one of my favorite things, talk about the library. Williamsburg Regional Library was named Virginia Library of the Year in 2023 and is consistently ranked in the top 5% of libraries nationwide. It has long been a cornerstone of community learning, enrichment, and engagement. Thank you. WRL consists of 2 library buildings as well as office and meeting room space at the Stryker Center. The Williamsburg Library on Scotland Street was built in 1973 and underwent major renovations in 1982 and 1998. The James City County on Croker Road was built in 1996. The Children's Room was renovated in 2020. WRL is a regional library system serving the residents of James City County, the City of Williamsburg, and York County. WRL operates under a regional contract, which is signed by the 3 funding localities. Operating costs are shared by the jurisdictions and based on the percentage of total items checked out by residents. By contract, capital and maintenance costs are the responsibility of the locality where the building is located. Our community benefits by having a regional library system. Regional systems provide economies of scale through cost and resource sharing. Regional libraries also receive a higher amount of state aid funding than non-regional systems. WRL is a well-used library system circulating over 1 million items and welcoming over 500,000 visitors in 2024. 430,000 people access the internet by using WRL computers and Wi-Fi. Over 100,000 people came to programs such as story times, concerts, and classes. WRL also serves our community beyond the walls of the library buildings, including twice weekly literacy programming at the Abram Frink Jr. Community Center, weekly bookmobile service to 15 neighborhoods, monthly service to 16 adult living communities, and 26 child care centers, including every Head Start and Bright Beginnings classroom. Beyond offering books, WRL provides critical services like free notary services, low-cost printing, technology access, educational programming for all ages, and spaces for connection and creativity. WRL serves everyone, including families, children, teens, and seniors, offering safe, welcoming spaces for learning, support, and community building. WRL partners with and supports many other community services, including James City County and Williamsburg Social Services, Merrimack Juvenile Detention Center, Virginia Peninsula Regional Jail, Grove Christian Outreach Center, WJCC schools, private schools, child development resources, Head Start, and Bright Beginnings, helping to address broader social, educational, and rehabilitative needs. WRL fosters workforce development, digital literacy, and computer skills training, equipping residents to succeed in a changing job market. WRL offers valuable resources for small business owners and support for entrepreneurs, including information on business planning, financing, and marketing. Libraries are good for a community's economy, supporting retail spending and community growth. Users who visit the library often make purchases at nearby businesses, generating additional revenue for local retailers. WRL brings people into the community, which can lead to increased foot traffic and spending in surrounding businesses. Libraries with special features, such as the Kiwanis Kids Idea Studio at the James City County Library, can be a significant factor in attracting new residents to a community, which can lead to increased business activity and economic growth. As you can see from this graph, library space has not kept pace with the population growth. WRL exceeds state standards for libraries in every category except for building square footage. A modern public library is a dynamic hub for learning, creativity, and connection, offering far more than books. It provides free access to technology, internet, and digital resources that help bridge the digital divide. Libraries support workforce development, lifelong learning, and early literacy through classes, workshops, and programs for all ages. They also serve as welcoming spaces where everyone in the community can gather, explore ideas, and access trusted information. The need for additional library space is not new. In 2007, a study by PSA Dewberry identified the need to expand WRL with a third library location. James City County CIP requests were made by WRL in fiscal year 2009 through 2013. WRL renewed the CIP request for a third library in fiscal year 2019 and have continued to renew that request each year. Additionally, WRL submitted a CIP request to the City of Williamsburg to replace the aging Williamsburg Library in fiscal year 2019. In May of 2024, the City of Williamsburg released a request for proposals for the replacement of the Williamsburg Library building. In March of 2025, Williamsburg City Council authorized Phase 1 of an interim agreement with Horrigan Construction to conduct input sessions regarding the design of a new library building. In March of 2025, the James City County Board of Supervisors authorized a change order to add programming and schematic design for a library addition to the proposed Consolidated Government Center. Concept work has begun on the new Williamsburg Library building. WRL staff met with the design team from Horgan Construction, and community input sessions were held on May 15th and May 20th. The current proposal is for an approximately 48,000 square foot building, including a 250-seat theater. WRL staff have also been meeting with the design team from Henderson Gilbane to identify needs and concepts for a new library branch at the proposed Consolidated Government Center. Community input sessions are being scheduled for July 7th and 9th. This 25,000 square foot addition to the Government Center would provide many benefits to the community. Co-locating a new library branch with the proposed Consolidated Government Center offers significant benefits for both efficiency and community access. Shared meeting rooms and event spaces reduce costs and encourage broader civic engagement. Citizens benefit from a one-stop hub where they can access library resources and government services in a single visit. Increased foot traffic boosts library visibility and usage. Shared infrastructure lowers capital and operating costs. Williamsburg Regional Library is excited about the enhanced opportunities to serve the community with a modern, accessible library in this shared location. Overall, co-location strengthens public service delivery while promoting community ties, innovation, and fiscal responsibility. By bringing together a new library branch and a government center, James City County can create a vibrant, citizen-centered civic hub that enhances service delivery, fosters community connection, and makes wise use of public funds. WRL is an essential community asset that delivers lasting social and economic returns. A study by the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago showed that library capital spending persistently improves reading test scores in the 7 years after the capital expenditure. Additionally, a new library boosts local satisfaction by providing an updated, welcoming space that meets the evolving needs of the community. It fosters a sense of pride by serving as a visible investment in education, culture, and shared public life. The library becomes a gathering place that strengthens community connection, offering programs and spaces that bring people together across ages and backgrounds. With modern amenities and expanded services, it encourages greater use and engagement, making the library a vibrant centerpiece of daily life. And I am happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions?
I don't have any questions, just I'm a huge user of the library. I just find it so beneficial. You have a great staff, always willing to help, but yet you modernize, you check out, so easy. You can put your book, and I don't know how that works, but it's pretty impressive.
Magic, yeah.
And I just appreciate, and when I go out to the library in Croker and just see the engagement of the children. I mean, it's like it's a science museum, and then you're adding that outdoor play area. It's tremendous, and I just truly believe in the power of libraries. Not everyone can afford to buy a book. I try to go on hold for a lot of my books. One, I don't want to be wasteful, but it's hard because sometimes they're very popular. So I can order one, but not everybody can do that. And so I appreciate the service that you offer to people, and I see the usage, and I'm excited about this. I also know that a number of James City County residents use the downtown library, and so we'll have to work our way through that when the new one gets, I'm hoping that we'll be in the center of our county, and it will, but I'm sure our residents will still be using downtown, and I know that makes an economic impact to them, but we need the economic impact for James City County too. So I just thank you for everything that you've done, and I'm looking forward to continue to use the library. So.
And a little bit on that note is we are envisioning that the 3 libraries will have unique identities. So they won't be the same services, the same thing at each building. The James City County Library on Croker Road will continue to be the family hub with the Kiwanis Kids Idea Studio and the upcoming playground. The Williamsburg Library, we envision to continue to be the arts and culture hub with the theater and the art gallery spaces there. And the Government Center Library proposed, we envision that to be the sort of high-tech center where we have a maker space and 3D printing classes and all those things that are really appealing to all, not just the young members of our community, but all ages.
I want to echo Ms. Larson's comments. It seems to me that regularly I'm visiting the library, not just to see what new books are out there or to take advantage of sort of traditional library services, but all the community building that happens out there in the auditorium where candidate forums are held, where Head Start graduations are held, where all sorts of opportunities for film series, concert series, everything that happens in that regard. Again, when I went out to the Croker Library last year to moderate a forum, after the forum was over, I just walked through the children's section and it was packed. And just was excited to see all that. And before I left, I could pop by the seed library and pull out some seeds. And I know that everywhere I go, when there's a community event going on, Williamsburg Regional Library is there. And I really enjoyed, I think it was last summer maybe, or last fall, when I got to experience jackfruit barbecue at Grove Community Center. A wonderful chef was able to teach us exactly
It's a
how.
little questionable in the wonderful part.
Well,
Yes,
I don't think it was.
enjoyed it.
I don't think it was questionable at all. It was really eye-opening that you could turn fruit into something that tasted just like a barbecue sandwich. And the excitement of the folks that were in that room, ranging in age, I would guess from their 80s down to 12 or so, was just thrilling. But you're there all the time, no matter what the community event in any of our localities. It's just great to see you there and to know that people are taking advantage of it. And it's been recognized not only by our community and every comprehensive plan survey that we've done, that the library just comes out way on top, and the state naming you the Library of the Year. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to comment in noticing in the graph here, of course, we've been level. We haven't had the square footage increase, and we're looking at that. But we'd be going with the city's renovation. And my understanding is that in the city, what they're planning to do is when the old police station is torn down, is that the location that the new library is going to be at?
That is
And then-
the most likely scenario.
So that it
yes.
would be constructed while you're still in the old facility, and then so you would seamlessly move over to operate throughout the whole construction process.
Most of the construction process. There will be probably about 4 months at the end of construction where the library will have to be torn down to build the parking lot. So, but most of construction, yes.
Oh, and it looks like, given their size projection and everything, and what we're projecting is we're going to be around 108,000 square feet, whereas right now we're sitting somewhere around 70,000. So it's a significant increase. We're still lagging behind your projections, but I think the most telling thing about this graph right here is about the population. Is the population growth of your users is predominantly James City County, and it looks like it's going to continue to grow that way. The city is fairly stable, and York is growing slightly, but ours is growing significantly. So this is a tremendous asset for the residents of James City County, and thank you. Okay. No other questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Towers. We will now move to the Government Center update. Mr. Brad Reinhammer.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members, Mr. Stevens, Mr. Kinsman. It's my pleasure to be here today to give you my monthly update on the Government Center. And Sandy did a great job of talking about the library system and all the advantages. We are near the end of the programming stage with the architect builder group. That should be done very soon, and we're hoping to get some schematic designs, some things for folks to see. Sandy mentioned the 2 library input meetings on July 7th and July 9th. Those will be held at the rec center. Just wanting citizens to come in and give some input on what they'd like to see in that library. Have more discussions on the traffic circles. As you know, the initial site plan, we did not have the traffic circles on there. With the addition of the library, that kind of raised the numbers up to the point that we had to do that. And since I'm on that topic, I know there's been a lot of stuff said here in public meetings and certainly in the media about the $50 million library that we're building. And I think it's important. I'm pretty sure you all are aware of this, but I make sure everybody else knows. The library's CIP request over the past 7 or 8 years for a new library was for a 50,000 square foot library, which was that cost of about $50 million. The library programming right now, we sit right around 25,000 square feet. So the actual cost of this library will be significantly less than that $50 million that was in the CIP budget, which some of that money will certainly be used for some of the traffic improvements that are being required due to the addition of the library at that site. I just wanted to kind of throw that out there for you all to think about. We do continue to have cost-saving discussions with the builder and architect group. Value engineering is what they call it. Reduced costs quite a bit so far. We're still working on it. Some things we just don't want to give up. Some things we're willing to compromise on. Still want it to be a very nice facility and accomplish all the things that we want out of this facility, but just trying to get the cost down as much as we can and be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. Still involved in lead discussion. I think it was Mr. Hipple the other day who mentioned about not wanting to pay $400,000 or $500,000 for a plaque on the wall. And of course, none of us want to do that. We do want to make sure, though, we get some of the advantages that come through that lead process. The system testing and envelope testing of the facility, things that our general services folks definitely want to see. So we're going to be putting out some RFPs to try to get some input and some prices on what those things will cost us. Big exciting news today, right? This is an exciting time. We started having some of the discussions with the interior decorators and the architects on what some of the interior finishings may look like. And we did finally get some conceptual views of what the interior of the building may look like. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I put this slide in here because I think this is important. Right from the start of this process, when we first formed our working group, we came together with the architects and the builders and talked about what we wanted to do with this process, what we wanted out of this new facility. And I'm not going to read through them, but you can see them up there. I'll kind of highlight the words that are in blue. We wanted the facility to be appealing and attractive, source of pride for our residents, foster public engagement, reduce overall operating costs, be efficient, more productive, sustainable, prioritize safety and security for staff and the public, and maintain an open and welcoming character. Then the last one we added on a little bit later in the process, enhance our ability to retain and hire staff. Employees today take a great deal of pride in their work environment. And I've seen this on social media and other sites where people say, just give them 4 walls, a desk and a chair, and they'll do their job. And that's just not the way of the world today. We're competing for quality applicants, quality talent, and we need a place that they are happy to be at because they spend most of their time at work. So that's important to us, and we're looking to be able to bring all these things into this new consolidated government center. The interior concepts, and when the interior design folks come in and spoke with us, they talked a lot about what we were looking for through both staff surveys and what we saw on the tours that we went on and what we heard from citizens as well. The interior, we wanted to be warm, we wanted transparency, natural materials, daylight, openness, connectivity, and a design that is rooted in place. And the interior designers, I'll give them a world of credit. They talked a lot about James City County and our history, and with the York and the James and the Chickahominy. They kind of laid out this building with the idea of the rivers, as we are surrounded by rivers and the way they flow through our community, sort of how the government center would flow and work for our community as well. So they took that kind of concept, the warmth, the transparency, and all those things, and came out with kind of an interior finished color type of palette for us to look at. And those are just some of the different types of materials and different types of colors that they're looking to incorporate into the interior of the new building. Keep in mind, when I first presented the architectural renderings of the outside of the building, you remember that? The first one we presented, we ended up on number 12. Where we ended up for the most latest exterior view of the building. So the pictures that you're getting ready to see, this is our first look at these interior looks. So I don't want you to be sold on this is exactly how it's going to be, but I wanted you all to see it, give some feedback, thoughts. Are we headed in the right direction? Is that totally out of whack of what you're thinking? Just some ideas from you all. So the first rendering we're going to look at is kind of the interior, the lobby of the building. And you'll see where the lobby security desk is on that picture, and you'll see it here in the next rendering. So that would be as if you were standing on the left side of the main public entrance. So you came in the main public entrance of the building, where you see James City County over there to the right, that would be the boardroom. The double doors that lead back out, kind of right behind that security desk, they go out to that little courtyard between the left side of the main building and the Board of Supervisors room. That's that view. This is if you were standing over to the side of the government center, looking back at the security desk. You can sort of see where the two wings of the government center kind of split out. You can also see that main stairwell that goes up to the second floor, and you can see that walking path that connects the second floor of the main building to the second floor of the boardroom. I'll have to say, when they showed this one, the architects admitted that there will probably be a couple more support pillars on there that aren't in that rendering. This is just kind of the first try. Throughout this building, as you all recall, we have a number of open workstations, some larger than others. This was just a rendering, and where number 1 is listed, the wood, it's not actual wood, it's vinyl flooring, 2 being carpet, and then some other sound attenuation things like you see up top, number 5. Those aren't actually wooden beams. That's not wood. It's just made to look a lot like wood. And please don't pay too much attention to those workstations. That was the architects just trying to throw something in there so you could have a better feel of what it looks like. I know I've talked about this, but we do have a workstation group of employees who are looking at different types of workstations, but that's not necessarily how they're going to look. You'll see the offices on the right-hand side of this picture. Pretty much all glass for those supervisory offices. They will have wooden doors, but the whole idea of transparency, natural light, keeping the light flowing through the building. This is a typical corridor. So for instance, this might be the first floor. All 3 floors will be very similar. The first floor, walking back along the back, this part you see on the left side with the glass, that would be this part facing the main parking lot at the entrance to the government center. This is a view from the boardroom. This would be your view, as if you were sitting on the dais. You can see there is a half wall. You can see it kind of below the speaker that's silhouetted there. I think we saw that in one of the buildings in Minneapolis, that we saw, or Suffolk, somewhere we saw that. I think there was a lot of good comments made about that and the desire to have that in there. One thing that I'm probably going to change, but again, I want to get your input on this. On the left-hand side, that all glass wall, that's out to the open. I think that'll probably be a regular wall up to maybe 8 or 10 feet with glass above it. I don't think you want people walking by, just kind of peeping in, watching you as the board meeting's going on. But just so you can get an idea of what things are starting to look like.
Brad, what's the capacity for a regular board meeting?
Right now, it's about 200. If you recall, one of the things we wanted out of this was that we could move things around. So there will be no pew seating like this. The chairs will all be movable, so we can rearrange that room for other events as well. But if we do have a highly controversial issue, I'll say, where we draw a couple hundred people to a boardroom, we'll be able to accommodate 200 people. And your work session is right across the hall on the back side, which will be able to accommodate quite a few more people if necessary. The timeline, the special use permit will be coming before you all at your June 10th meeting. I'll throw this out now because Paul is going to be here presenting for me. I'll be out of country at that point, but Paul will be here to present that to you all. The final site plan approval, hopefully in September. Again, construction funding, September and October, and hopefully land disturbing permit and site work in October, November of 2025. Still the same timeline as I've been showing previously. So those are just, like I said, the first renderings. Those are the first ones we've seen, and I wanted you all to see them. If you have any general thoughts, consensus, ideas, going the right way, totally off the mark, any thoughts, anybody wants to share, I'd be happy to hear that.
I like the color palette that you showed. I thought that was good and seemed to represent the county and the surroundings of the site. So I do prefer a solid wall up to a point. So, and then the only other question I had, you had security, you had a lobby desk, but then is the staircase open?
Yeah, people would have to traverse past the security desk to get to
Get
that
there?
staircase.
Okay.
And, we haven't talked too much about this. I think in the future, that security desk will be a two-person desk. There'll be somebody there as serving in that security role, but probably someone else there to just help answer general questions. There's going to be a lot of people coming in through that door, and the security person probably the best one to answer, where do I go to get a permit? Or where do I pay my taxes? Those types of questions. So there'll probably be two people there. It'll be a decent-sized desk right there. I shouldn't say desk because it's not just a desk. But.
All right.
Any other comments, thoughts, questions?
I think I like what general tone of what I'm saying. However, I must qualify that my wife will tell you I'm totally unqualified for that.
Yeah, the interior design folks that they have they're doing a really good job of putting things together and just getting to see the inside, because this is our first time really seeing the inside of this building, what it may look like is very exciting for us. And I will absolutely share those renderings as more come in and we get a little further along in the process. But I was making sure we're on the right track, and that's good to hear. So thank you all very much.
Okay. More questions? That's it? Welcome, Michael. How did I know you would show up for this one?
199 held me up.
There you go. Okay. Our next is the Virginia Department of Transportation Revenue Sharing Program for fiscal years 29 and 30. Mr. Paul Holt will give us the.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Every other year, the Virginia Department of Transportation invites localities to participate in the Revenue Sharing Program. The program provides funding to construct, reconstruct, improve, or maintain the highway system, and it matches local dollars on a one-to-one basis. County typically uses RevShare projects to fund smaller projects, immediately needed improvements, or to supplement funding on existing projects. This year, staff is recommending 4 projects for the board's consideration. For the first project, one you already know, Centerville Road and Jolly Pond Road is currently an unsignalized intersection, and 2 years ago, we did receive RevShare funds to install a new signal at this location. Unfortunately, since that time, costs have increased and additional funding via this updated application is necessary. This request would fill that funding gap. The next project would provide intersection improvements at Long Hill Road and War Hill Trail. As you know, this is one of 2 entrances and exits to the War Hill Sports Complex. Proposed improvements would include a new traffic signal, an extension of the right-hand turn lane on War Hill Trail, and other miscellaneous pedestrian and improvements at the intersection itself. These improvements will directly support the proposed new facility for the General Services Department, feature additional recreation facilities at the sports complex itself, and these improvements are in line with both the Long Hill Road Corridor Study and the War Hill Trail Traffic Impact Analysis. For our third project, the Skiffs Creek Industrial Park Improvements Project would bring the existing roadway sections into conformance with VDOT requirements. These improvements include road resurfacing, drainage improvements, improved sight lines for Manufacturer Drive and Commerce Boulevard. These roads were constructed almost 25 years ago, and this project is intended to correct the current deficiencies with the goal of being able to dedicate these streets to VDOT. This one's going to look familiar because we did apply for these funds 2 years ago as well, but we're not successful in that round, so we're going to try again this round. Finally, the Jamestown Road and Green Springs Road Improvements Project provides intersection improvements to replace the really sharp curve there on Green Springs Road as vehicles travel towards Jamestown Road. By creating a new intersection, this would better align Jamestown Road and Green Springs Road and remove that safety issue of vehicles going too fast around the curve. Improvements include adding additional signage, improving sight distance, constructing a new intersection with Jamestown Road, along with the appropriate striping. We've got to realign the Virginia Capitol Trail crossing in that location and some regrading to address stormwater, of course. Staff looks forward to the Board of Supervisors' feedback on these proposed projects, and if generally acceptable, staff will provide a resolution of support for each of these projects at your June 10th regular board meeting. Be happy to answer any questions.
Before we get into the details of it all, I'm just sort of curious, is this, these four different priorities, if, are we asking them to be awarded in that priority, or is that something where the state says, well, we can't do this one, but we can do this one? So I'm trying to figure out, whether the order in which they were presented, is that a priority that we have, or and how will that translate to what the state does?
Sure. So we try to touch on that a little bit in the staff report. So the state does have a funding priority mechanism already in place. And so, ones that already have funding on them that need additional funding, they will tend to consider first. So in this instance, Jolly Pond and Centerville Signal would likely be funded near the top. In terms of the state's prioritization process, they next consider ones where improvements are already listed in the capital improvements plan. There's some other ones in there about maintenance of existing streets that won't be applicable on ours, but a lot of that will be dictated by VDOT's funding formula first.
Do we know how much we've gotten for the traffic light at Jolly Pond and Centerville, so far, and how much more will be required?
Yeah, so, that one was originally estimated to be closer to 600,000. I think it's right around 599,000. Based on recent cost estimates, it's just over $1 million.
Okay, so we're looking at.
So we're short another
good chunk of
500,000.
that, okay.
And if we're successful with this, the state would split that with us.
Other questions?
I was just going to comment on the Green Springs Road, Jamestown Road. Very dangerous. The drop-offs on the side, every weekend you'll go by and see where somebody has gone down. It is heavily traveled by bicyclists and pedestrians, and bicyclists don't always stay on the trail that's right next to it. So I'm glad to see that, and I hope that we'll be able to make some progress there. So, thank you.
Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And we next move to the Virginia Department of Transportation Alternatives Program for fiscal years 2027 and 2028. And again, Mr. Holt.
Yes, thank you very much again. Another funding opportunity for us. So each year, again, every other year, VDOT invites us to participate in the Transportation Alternatives Program. So this one's a little bit different. This helps localities construct community-based projects. They have to be able to expand non-motorized transportation choices and enhancements. The program provides federal transportation funds that would actually reimburse us up to 80% of costs for qualifying projects. So therefore, we only have to provide the 20% match for projects from our local dollars. In recent years, the county has used this funding source for projects such as moving the Norwich Depot, restoring the Norwich Depot caboose, and safe routes to schools infrastructure projects at James River, Clare Bird Baker, and Laurel Lane Elementary Schools. This year, staff is recommending 4 projects for board consideration. The first project, we've heard a lot from the community for this one. This would provide an infill sidewalk project along Ironbound Road from Route 5 to St. Bede Catholic Church. This would provide a full 5-foot wide sidewalk along Ironbound Road, going all the way down to Five Forks to include pedestrian crossings, modifying the signal at Ironbound and Route 5 to account for more pedestrians crossing that signalized intersection, rapid rectangular flashing beacons for pedestrian safety, and stormwater improvements in various areas. Second project is also an infill project and would connect the existing sidewalk at Matoka Elementary School to 2 existing sidewalks along Centerville Road. Again, the project proposes a 5-foot wide sidewalk, pedestrian crossings, and ADA curb ramps. The Pocahontas Trail project proposes a road diet from 199 to the city of Williamsburg. As you may know, that roadway currently has 2 travel lanes in each direction, and there is also a center turn lane for turns. That roadway then, of course, totals a 5-lane roadway cross-section. However, because of the railroad tracks, there's only development on one side of the road, and Pocahontas Trail actually turns into a 2-lane roadway at the city limits. The road diet would redesign the travel lanes to reduce 1 vehicle travel lane in each direction and use that space to add a bike lane in each direction. So you'd still have a lane of traffic in each direction, you'd still have the center turn lane, and this would add to that.
If I could just ask about that, because the one place on here that seems problematic to me is right at the intersection of 199 and Pocahontas Trail, eastbound. Well, actually, so eastbound and westbound on 199, where there's often a backup of cars waiting to turn onto 199 and have to wait as cars exit that intersection as well.
So we're gonna have to
Did this
really
have any impact on that?
It shouldn't. We're gonna have to think through those details at the engine, if we get funded. We'd have to think through those engineering level of details when we get into more of the specifics of what that transition would look like. We don't wanna, we wanna enable the bike traffic, but we don't wanna do anything to make that intersection get more congested, for sure. So that is a very important detail that we would keep in mind, for sure.
Oh, go ahead. So this section, we're basically talking about taking a lane in each direction out to add a bike lane. My opinion on that is to keep the traffic moving, especially since we're adding, and the new Fort Magruder now is going to be houses, so that's going to add more traffic on the road. And with the rec center that's going in up in Williamsburg, that's going to add more traffic on the road. The hospital is going to add more traffic on the road, and everything is going on in the city behind that. And as hard as we fight to get roads, period, and to change our road for a bicycle, I think is crazy, my opinion. I think we need to keep the roads in place, and we can add bike paths somewhere else, but I think by taking this down, even though Williamsburg's got theirs down to 2 lanes when you get there, I think we ought to keep this open for traffic and maybe use that money or try to get money for some other project that we can add a bike lane to traffic instead of taking traffic away to put a bike lane in place of it. Because I think the balance of that is going to be next to nothing compared to a lot of traffic goes down through there. And I think by taking that lane away and putting a bike trail down there, I don't think that's going to be the best use of our money. Thank you.
Agree with that too. I think that's crazy. I've seen bike lanes put in other places with taking cars off, and then nobody's ever in the bike lane. Seriously, this is a big project here too. I just don't think it's worth it.
So I want to speak about the Ironbound Road that we did hear from a citizen who had specifically asked us about this to keep connectivity in that area. So I'm glad to see that on here.
I think the point that Michael and Barbara made is an important one to for maybe some additional analysis of changes that are going on. There does seem to be the room for more development along this side, the southern side of Route 60 there, which would obviously impact this. And I don't know what the impact of the new sports facility might be in terms of people heading down the peninsula, whether they would be choosing to move in this direction for connection to 199. Just not quite sure about that.
especially when we repair all the Grove area and widen that, people might wanna,
It's
Utilize.
it's very lightly traveled now.
right?
And just a question of what the likely future capacity is going to be.
I would chime in my 2 cents worth on this. I drive this quite often from here going down to the city, to the city complex, to the post office down there and everything. Traffic is rarely heavy. It's, and I think, I'm not adverse to putting bike lane, but I think what you trade for it is probably something like that center turn lane. Because I think, to Michael's point, keeping the 4 lane open, it moves quite well. It's a viable alternative for getting to other places, in the city. But I think probably having the idea of having a bike lane on, and maybe have a bike lane that's a dual direction bike lane on one side, type would set aside something innovative like that, where people have the access to use that for bikes, but not to, this is about a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, and I think people move around 50, and you get bikes in close proximity, and that gets to be rather dangerous, I think. But I will go back to the first one and say, on behalf of my constituents in the Meadows, I hear a lot about it, and it's a completely valid point. Is that when you leave the area up around Target and you're headed down toward Five Forks, once you get past St. Bede's, you're on the road. It's just no other way. And there are a lot of communities in there that would utilize this considerably. So I've got a lot of requests for it, and I'm glad to see it come into the priority there. Hope you can secure the funding.
So too, that's the next challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would the same kind of funding opportunity be available for a path, a multi-use path on the non-railroad track side?
It could be. One of the things that made this project more conceivable was you're working within the existing asphalt. I'm going to oversimplify and just saying we could maybe do this just by restriping. There really wouldn't be the need for physical new construction. Any time that you leave the current pavement and really start to acquire easements and additional right-of-way, the cost is just going to skyrocket. And for a length like this, that would add up pretty quick and may not make it such a viable project to do all at the same time, to go off of the roadway or to do something outside of the existing right-of-way. But again, I'm way oversimplifying by just saying we could do this on the existing asphalt that's out there.
I know this has been a proposal that's been advanced a lot by the Historic Triangle Bicycle Advisory Committee.
It has
over the
been, and
years.
this genesis of this actually, there was a regional study done by the Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization that looked at roads throughout all of Hampton Roads, and based on existing and projected traffic volumes, identified this one as being overbuilt currently for the need. But understand things are likely to change, and there would be some additional study for that for sure.
Any other questions?
And really just to sort of round out to highlight the fourth project for you, this is an additional sidewalk segment on Richmond Road. Again, a bit of an infill between Bush Springs Road and 7691 Richmond Road. Provide continuous sidewalks is ultimately the goal from Norwich to Toano. Again, there would be improved crosswalks, drainage, and culvert improvements. In addition, Toano Middle School is about a quarter mile from the edge of the project limits and can provide additional safe routes to schools for some of these students. Again, staff looks forward to your feedback today and anything additional. Really, in terms of next steps, to meet VDOT new program requirements, a public hearing is going to be required on these items prior to the board considering a resolution or not for any of these projects. And staff will schedule that for your June 10th meeting as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other questions? Wraps it up. Okay, we now move to board consideration, disposal of county property located at 4601 Ironbound Road. Mr. Holt is back up again.
Again. So really, as discussed during the public hearing on May 13th, an approximately 14-acre portion of eastern state property has been declared surplus by the Commonwealth of Virginia. Property will be transferred to the county and consistent with the requirements of the adopted state budget. For real this time, staff recommends approval of the resolution in your agenda packets, which would authorize the county administrator to execute those documents necessary to transfer the property to Colonial Behavioral Health. Be happy to answer any questions.
Move the resolution.
Okay, we have a motion. Stevens?
Mr. McGlinnan.
Aye.
Ms. Larson.
Aye.
Mr. Hippel.
Aye.
Ms. Knoll.
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. And we are down to board requests and directives. Michael? Nope. Okay. Barbara?
I attended the jail graduation last week for the people who graduated from their drug rehab program, and it was very lovely. There were about 25 inmates. So that was a nice little ceremony, and of course, all of us were at the police awards banquet and saw Officers of the Year and Valor, presentations for Valors, and Mr. Eisenhower wrote thank you notes to all of them, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Just a couple, I participated in the Ford's Colony Community Meeting with Supervisor Hippel and Chair Eisenhower, which I thought went very well, and appreciate them having us out. And the police, which I thought was a very moving ceremony, and just very, very proud. You just don't realize everything that goes on and all the life-saving that happens until you sit through a ceremony like that, and it was tremendous. I also want to thank several people from James City County that came out to the Williamsburg Corporate Breakfast for the Walk to End Alzheimer's. And I'm also very happy to announce that James City County is going to be doing a team. And that's on Saturday, October 25th in Newtown. And so if anyone is interested with the county, to please reach out to me. I know that I had gotten an email from one person, and I'm going to look back and send all that, but we're hoping to have a really strong team. Alzheimer's really impacts so many people, and especially, we have a lot of members of our community that are aging and deal with dementia or support somebody that is dealing with dementia. So if we can get out and show some support, that would be great.
What's the date again?
October 25th, and that'll be in Newtown. So, excuse me, and that's all.
Just to say that I always find the events at the jail where inmates have been able to take advantage of the time that they have earned in that facility to advance themselves is just so impressive and moving. And the police award ceremony was extremely well done this year, I think, and did a great job in recognizing the fantastic work of our public safety officers. On Friday, I got to celebrate a couple of events, the reopening of the Big Bad Wolf, the Big Bad Wolf's Revenge, and I got to ride on that particular roller coaster. The good news for folks who are a little roller coaster shy but would really like the experience, this one's designed for the whole family, at least anybody who's 42 inches tall, 3.5 feet or so, if accompanied by an adult. And so if dad wants to get his little daughter an opportunity to try it out, that's a great chance to do it. It was a fun ride, and really enjoyed the excitement and enthusiasm of the crowd that was there to welcome back the Big Bad Wolf. That afternoon, I got to attend the 40th anniversary of Williamsburg Landing, which was a very nicely done event, and had the opportunity to see lots of great people, including some of our county board representatives, and Also, an opportunity to hear great music and enjoy some great food. And congratulate Williamsburg Landing on achieving that great success of 40 years in the community as an institution that just grows in its influence and popularity. So, stop with that.
Thank you. Yeah, I attend, along with most of the board, I attended the police awards ceremony and found it to be very, very moving. And I was thankful we got to attend that. As Supervisor Larson says, there are things that go on in our communities that are really positive, really life-saving that most people never hear about. And when you hear them at these events, it really strikes close to home. But a special shout out to our Officer of the Year, Officer Andrew Crockett, and he and his partner. I believe his partner
Maverick.
is what was
Maverick.
Maverick. Yeah,
Maverick.
Maverick was not present at the time.
No, he was in his cage.
But Maverick was outside ready to go to duty. But anyway, he's one of our K-9 officers, an Officer of the Year, and tremendous awards for valor. On May the 20th, I did attend the Alzheimer's kickoff, and I think we'll have good, hopefully we can have really good representation from the county on this. I know my wife participates in it every year because it affected our family. I also went to the Naval Weapons Station. We go regularly to the Coast Guard Station to help recognize the sailor and the civilian of the quarter or the year as part of our Military Affairs Committee on the Chamber of Commerce. So trying to link the community with the military institutions. This was the first time we'd had a chance to actually connect pretty deeply with the Navy folks and the Navy and Marines, and it was a good ceremony. We really had a tremendous turnout. Thankfully, they saved me a parking spot up front. Otherwise, it was about a half a mile hike to get to it. But that evening, we had the Ford's Colony Town Hall meeting, and Supervisor Larson and Hipple managed to escape, but I had to hang around for another hour to listen to them talk trash. They were doing their trash consolidation, and it looks like that's going to occur, and it will start in our community in about October. And the significant difference, because currently I'm paying over $40 a month for the services that it's going to wind up costing about $23. So I think there's a lot of validity in the study we have toward consolidating, and we're seeing this in some of the community bases. So I told them, give it a few years. We'll be probably looking at it again when we have a closer opportunity to do exactly what we need to do. And then today, I attended a ribbon cutting in Newtown, an empty spot that used to be occupied by Myat. Is now open as Chicken Salad Chicks. And when I got there, I was blown away because from the door, the line of people waiting went all the way around the block. And they had been there, some of them since last night, with their lawn chairs, because I guess there was a giveaway of free sandwiches or something for a year-long basis. And so people were really lined up and really fired up. And I told my wife she wants to go to dinner somewhere tonight. When I get back, we got a place we can try right in the district there. And with that, I'll look forward to our board report of the county administrator.
Chair and members of the board, just a couple items. I hate to bring bad news, but hurricane season begins June 1st. So I just want to make our community aware. I think we're in good shape for June, but it does begin June 1st, run through November. And just a reminder that residents ought to have a 3-day supply of whatever they need for their families, for their pets, prescriptions, all those things, so they could look after themselves for a period of 3 days. And we'll talk more about that, but that does begin June 1st. Also, on a little better news, Newtown Tunes has kicked off the season. It runs every Wednesday through, I guess, June 18th. Starts at 5 o'clock behind Legacy Hall in Newtown, and would encourage people to come out and enjoy the concerts that are presented there in partnership with the Newtown Commercial Association. And then finally, with spring, sometimes come mosquitoes, and our General Services Department do offer mosquito dunks. If people want to come get those, you put them in water. They are safe for, if anything were to drink the water, it's not toxic to animals, but they do help reduce mosquito populations in areas with standing water. Or if you put the water in a bucket near an area where you have mosquitoes, it's supposed to draw them in and help reduce that. And so we do offer those to residents. A number, 757-259-4080. Again, 757-259-4080 for mosquito dunks, and that's all I have today.
Mr. Chairman, I wonder if I could go back to board requests for just a minute,
Yes,
because
sir.
I did have an item that I would like us to think about, and that is, we're already hearing about some impacts on local agencies, nonprofits, and the like, in terms of federal budget cuts and clawbacks of awards that have been made. I'd really like to offer an opportunity to our nonprofit community and some of our other sites that do depend on that federal funding. We know $300,000 that was supposed to go to Jamestown Island for their project has apparently been canceled. And in meeting with folks from the House of Mercy, hearing about their budget cuts, I think it's important to know what these impacts are going to be. I wonder if we might, maybe for our business meeting in July, think about having some representatives to provide us with information about where those impacts are being felt and what they're doing to try to mitigate the impacts. Is that something that the board would be interested in?
Okay, we are ready to go to closed session. May I have a motion to enter closed session for the following? Number one, discussion of consideration of the acquisition of real property for public purpose or the disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body, specifically a parcel of real property situated in the Berkeley District along Jamestown Road pursuant to section 2.23711A3 of the Code of Virginia. Number two, consideration of a personnel matter, the appointment of individuals to county boards and commissions pursuant to section 2.23711A1 of the Code of Virginia, Economic Development Authority appointments, Stormwater Program Advisory Committee appointments, and Colonial Community Criminal Justice Board appointments. And discussion, number three is discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to section 2.23711A29 of the Code of Virginia and pertaining to the contract for the joint operation of schools between the county and the city of Williamsburg.
I move to go into closed session to consider those items.
Mr. Stevens, call the roll.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Arcina?
Aye.
Motion
Okay,
carries.
we're in closed session. Back in open session. May I have a motion to certify the closed session?
So
Mr.
moved.
Chairman, I move to certify that we only spoke about those items we indicated we would speak about in closed session.
Mr. Stevens, call the roll, please.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a nomination for reappointment to the Economic Development Council, Ellen Smith-Gaida for a term expiring May 31st, 2029, and Brandon Nice for a term expiring May 31, 2029.
Mr. Stevens, call the roll, please.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And, Mr. Chairman, for appointment to the Colonial Community Criminal Justice Board, nominate Mr. Brandon Nice to serve.
Brandon
No.
Waltrip.
I'm sorry, Brandon Waltrip. Sorry. Too many Brandons here. Brandon Waltrip for a term expiring February 28th, 2028, as the code mandates, mandated position of the local defense attorney. And Chief Mark Jameson to serve a new term expiring on February 28th, 2028.
Stevens, call the roll, please.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. We have concluded the business for today. I'll take a motion to adjourn until 5 p.m. on June 10th, 2025 for a regular meeting.
So moved.
May I have Mr. Stevens call the roll,
Mr.
please.
Hippel?
Aye.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Motion carries.
We are adjourned.